Did you know there's almost 10 million people living with an autoimmune condition in the United States? Multiple sclerosis is one that affects many millions of these people. My guest, Dr. Leslie Birkland, has been living with MS or multiple sclerosis for a long time. Today, she will share her story with me as we take a deeper look into life with multiple sclerosis. Welcome to the show today, Dr. Leslie. I am happy to be back with you again.
My pleasure.
I'm excited to be here for National MS Awareness Month, even though it should be a regular occurrence. People don't understand what we deal with in living with multiple sclerosis.
Yeah, I find that really interesting because people can hear about other types of diseases and they just accept it. They just accept the limitations. But with MS, I find that people don't really understand. It doesn't make sense and they just can't wrap it around their head, even though they may not know the details or the reason or what's actually happening biologically with another disease. They've heard the word so many times. That's why I think it's important with multiple sclerosis Awareness Month to really get it out. MS, what does it mean? What does it mean in a nutshell?
How do you share it in simple terms so people can understand it?
In the simplest term, without getting details of what's sort of happening in our bodies or the history of it or when it was first diagnosed, I tell people, imagine your electrical system in your body. Your electrical system is not working right. It's not firing correctly. Some days it might be firing down an arm, and the other day it's not firing at all, and you can't even feel your arm. Another day it might be firing to your foot, but over firing so that your foot is in excruciating pain. I tell them to imagine an electrical system in their home. Sometimes if somebody actually seems interested, I might go into further detail and say, imagine the wiring in your home where the sheath, the covering of the wires, the plastic sheath is worn out in spots. And then your lights flicker. They go on and off and on and off. And when I put it in sort of those terms, people go, oh, okay, I get it. And then, of course, then there's more,
Of course.
there's more. But it seems to sort of resonate because people can envision their house.
Mm-hmm.
They can envision their house and their wiring system, what it means when lights flicker or when there's a storm and all of a sudden your lights go out. They can relate to that.
Mm-hmm. Or even similarities to our vehicles, our cars. When we have electrical problems in our car, it just doesn't function right.
Yeah. Then you hit it and then somehow it works and you don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no exact way. You can take it to the mechanic and the mechanic may be able to fix it temporarily, maybe not for the long term. I equate that to having some medicine. Medicines will get rid of some of our symptoms, but there is no cure. And medicine can sometimes slow down the progression, but it can't cure it with its ongoing.
Right. In your journey, what were your first symptoms which you started noticing?
The very first thing that happened to me was I had eye flashes and floaters. And if anyone knows what that means, it's the floaters are like little black dots that are sort of floating around your eye, and flashes are a flash of light that flashes in your eye. And the floaters were a little more troubling because I felt like I had little bugs and I kept trying to bat them away. And I realized, oh, it's my eye. I went to an optometrist. He looked in my eye and he said, I'm going to send you elsewhere. I'm going to send you to a neurologist. That was essentially how I was diagnosed. I was actually reading recently that about 50% of people with MS, they usually start out with some some problem with their optic nerve, or at least they think that. I know with you, it was different. You were a young person.
When I was younger, it was a simple hot bath, a hot tub, and that feeling like your legs are pasta now. They're cooked pasta. They're not going to work like they should. They're kind of working and you're forcing them to work, but there's definitely something wrong.
As we know, multiple sclerosis is heat sensitive. So even though we like the warmth and we oftentimes will live in warm places, when we get overheated, too much sun, it's like cooking pasta. And so we get these wobbly legs and wobbly. Okay, so that's really interesting.
It takes the energy out of your movement. And how do you get it back?
It is funny with MS because people will say to me, well, why don't you just go, get 8 hours sleep?
Mhm.
Sometimes I do get 8 hours sleep. And then you wake up and you might walk in your kitchen and then you need a nap.
Right.
It just doesn't work that way. Sometimes I will have a 24-hour period where I am just all energy. I've been sleeping and napping and sleeping and napping, and then all of a sudden I would just have this sort of burst of energy, and I take advantage of it. Okay,
Mhm.
I need to get my laundry list of things done. Do you
Right.
ever find a burst of energy?
Even if it's an hour and you feel that exact thing where now I can get this done and this done and this done, and then you crash because you did way too much.
It's interesting, even the statistics on multiple sclerosis, it's ever changing because the disease is ever changing. There's been new diagnoses, that are coming out all the time. And then there's people that are aging out and just getting older and passing away.
Mhm.
It's interesting. The averages are always changing, just like with any disease in society. But as it stands right now, there's 2 million people worldwide that have it and that have been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. About 400,000 are in the US as of 4 years ago. Now that number is about a million.
Mhm.
And I
It's
think that
just
that's so I don't exactly know what to make of it. The theory is that our medical doctors are more aware of it themselves. They're more aware, and so that they're able to diagnose it easier. But even diagnosing is interesting because we have little lesions in our cervical area behind
Mhm.
our neck. Those lesions are a sign, tumors. They're little tiny tumors. And then there's the symptoms. There is not one test. There is not one
Mhm.
singular test. They cannot test your blood, determine if you have multiple sclerosis. The lesions alone, it has to be the lesions with the symptoms. Sometimes
Mhm.
people have the symptoms, but they don't have the lesions, but they are going to develop, and a doctor may go ahead and make that determination that the person, does have MS. So and that's sort of interesting to me. Although I want to comment, this is funny. I'm an organized individual. I like my little ducks in a row. And even when I was looking at my MRI of my brain scan of my lesions, my little tumors, they were actually organized, stacked on top of each other. And I
Really.
thought, that's so me. Because even the doctor comment, like, well, they're very symmetrical and organized. I thought, well, but I do want people to know that it's not contagious. No one that
Mhm.
is around us, you're not going to catch MS.
Looking backwards, I researched where it was discovered like in the Middle Ages in Holland. It's been around forever. I feel like they could get to the root of it and maybe they just aren't. I think there's some natural ways we can look into going down a path of natural healing. If you want to still use Western medicine, that's okay. The more we help ourselves, the better off we are. I know you're into natural medicine and healing as well. What has your journey been?
Yes, absolutely. It's interesting because I stopped all multiple sclerosis medicine, all of it. It was making me fat. It was giving me brain fog. Maybe it slowed the progression, but there is no way to really gauge it because everyone is individual. They sometimes call it the snowflake disease because we all are part of a snowflake, but each snowflake is completely uniquely itself. It's hard to even gauge it, and most of the medicine is just symptom orientated. It's only to take care of our symptoms. However, with natural medicine, and what I've done is just taken some herb combinations, for anti-inflammatory herbs and
Mm,
teas, and I've completely changed my diet. I am 100% organic.
mm,
Everything that I eat is organic, and most of everything I eat is a whole food. I mean, I'll eat
mhm,
some breads and grains that are organic. That has been only about a year where I've gone 100%.
mm.
I've taken sugar out of my diet, and that was really, really hard.
It is hard.
I love sugar. So I've taken processed sugar. Occasionally, I will use honey because that's something that
Mhm.
is natural. And it has changed everything for me, especially cognitively. I am
Yes.
100% the person that I once was
Mm.
20 years ago. And that is what I recommend. But just like you were saying, Wendy, I'm not discrediting traditional or modern medicine. I'm not saying that it isn't effective, but there are some side effects that I simply couldn't live with.
And even if they tell you at the doctor that it's not affecting your organs, I can't believe that it isn't, because everything gets processed in our
That's right.
body and has to go somewhere. If it's not coming out, it's staying in our body. That's not helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. It depends on the pharmaceutical medicine and what it's mimicking. Typically, they'll take a medicine and they make a synthetic of a natural plant. And they do that because it's quicker, you get quicker results. I was talking to a medical doctor and we were talking amongst each other. I said, why don't people want a 100% the natural rate? And what he shared with me is because people don't want to change their diet in general. Most of his clients, I shouldn't say that. People don't want to change their diet, and taking a pill is easy. He goes, and unfortunately, that's what I have to give people. But if anybody is interested in going the natural route, my attitude is baby stepping it.
Exactly.
Baby stepping it. I'm not one of those people where it's natural medicine and I'm militant about it. You have to cut out, do it in steps, cut down on your sugar. Stop going to fast food restaurants. Think about cooking at home, thinking about what you're getting, if it's organic, what processes it went through. And doing it step by step. Baby stepping is a wonderful way to do it, because then should you go to a fast food restaurant, you're going to feel horrible. And that's going to be something in your head that's going to go, oh, I lived eating that every single week. Now it's the opposite. It's turned around. Your body will feel so much better. That's my recommend. In fact, my stance is always baby stepping. Just try one thing. Eliminate one thing from your diet.
Yes.
Or eliminate it altogether through attrition, or you can just eliminate it and replace it with something that's organic.
Right. Just start swapping out a Diet Coke for a glass of water with a little piece of organic lemon.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because it is such a huge difference. My body now is so in tune. I can tell the difference between an egg, for example, at a farm where they're just feeding them awful GMO grains, between that egg and not a free range chicken, but one that is out in the pasture where they're eating more what's natural. Completely different.
Yes.
I'm still eliminating things to be more organic and healthy.
With the food, there's just so many chemicals in our food. If you look at the processed food, you pick up a package and it might say on the front natural, and you flip it over and there's words that you would need a chemistry degree to pronounce and describe what it actually is.
The trick is it will say natural in large words, flavored, meaning it's completely synthetic flavoring. It just tastes like something that's natural. That's what that means. When it says natural flavoring, it doesn't mean that it's natural at all.
I think it's important to not only read your labels, but to look out for one another. If somebody's thinking of changing, taking those micro baby steps and not doing everything at once. I found that people try something and they'll say, well, that didn't work, but they only tried it for a week or a month or even 6 months, because it takes a long time to get what has been put into our body out and then have our system realize the good things we're putting into it. One way we can help ourselves, there's many ways.
Yeah, flushing your body is critical when you're going to change your diet to drink lots of water. Flush your body out of the old as you're introducing new. And even then, it's a little, your body still has to adjust to these new healthy nutrients. It's like, whoa, what are you doing? And learning how to absorb it. But in the long run, by just doing some baby stepping, you will feel a lot better.
And I think that's part of why it's difficult.
We learn how to do things differently and how to be efficient. We live in this microwave world where everyone wants everything like right this minute. We don't have that luxury.
Living in this world, things are always evolving and we're discovering more and more about ourselves, things we thought were out there previously. Now that we're on this path of recentering and knowing ourselves, knowing what we're dealing with, how have you found that different modalities have helped you in shifting your mindset and how you View yourself, view the condition.
So many things don't matter anymore that used to matter. It used to matter how I appeared to somebody. It used to matter how things that meant a lot to me don't. They don't see the value. But then on the flip side, I see value in things like nature. I'll walk to my mailbox and I'll see some plant that is absolutely extraordinary. I won't wear my shoes now. There's this grounding effect that really does make a difference. I use tuning forks for healing. It helps me. I use the 528 hertz, tuning forks, and they're really easy. I have noticed I'm much more in tune with my body, as I'm sure you are. We know all the little things that we never even considered before. I have a grounding mat that's in my home that I never considered. I can't kill a bug anymore. Does that seem funny? I can't, because I look at the world differently. It's it's one of God's creatures, and we're all a part of one. I'm also giving love and much more thankful and forgiving than I ever was. If somebody ever did something, or even in the past, it doesn't matter. It's okay. They were just doing the best that they could do for that time. I'm not as irritated at my environment or anyone else. Life just goes on, and it's not worth negative energy.
Exactly.
How do you feel? What about you? What have you changed with your different modalities?
That's exactly what I think is, it's not worth it. The stress isn't worth it. The drama and buying into other people's drama like I used to do. It's not worth it. As soon as I embark on a stressful situation, I can feel it acting up in my legs and my feet. It's easier to sidestep it, release it, and not concern myself with it, because it's their journey, not mine.
Yeah, no, that is beautiful. And it's interesting that it's something that I had a baby step to coming to these realizations. What is life all about? What is my purpose? Why am I here? Things that I think about that I didn't think about 20 years ago. 20 years ago was all about making money or having a certain outfit or meeting the right people. None of that is really important. My values are just different. It's having relationships, one-on-one relationships with the people that are beautiful souls.
When you talk about the modalities of being outside and grounding, that is huge. Getting outside to breathe. We're inside 90% of the day, having fresh air, appreciating nature. Even if it's for a minute, it can change our whole outlook.
It's funny because I'm not afraid of things that I used to be afraid of. I was outside sitting in my yard and this big spider went crawling up on my leg, and I was like, "You're a beautiful creature. You can please get off my leg right now." Things that would freak me out was a part of nature that it took me a long time. In fact, I used to make fun of people that are the people I have evolved to become. I used to call them tree huggers. Now I admire that. They had something I didn't even recognize. I didn't even see the beauty in the sky, clouds and rain, and every tree, every branch, every root, and your heart aches for people. You hope they realize that's not going to matter in the long run.
That's all important as we discover things, to be open, to embrace what comes before us as something that's meant for us to hear. I've learned a lot about myself and would have thought a lot of things 20 years ago were so far out there, because I was still, I used to call it my gerbil wheel. You're going back and forth to the doctor and hoping for an answer next time. What are they going to tell me? Are they going to give me my cure? No, it's up to us to find it inside ourselves what our next steps are.
And do you find that you're more in tune with your own intuition? That's what I feel like.
Yes.
Like we've been taught from the day we're born to rely on someone else to tell us what's right and wrong, how we should feel. We've lost our intuition. Now I recognize in other animals in the animal kingdom, and I'm trying to take back my intuition.
I love that. We are born with that, and we just squash it as kids because they tell us to. I'd love to hear, though, more about how you help other people.
It's interesting because through my having multiple sclerosis, I ended up going to school because I knew there was a natural way I could heal. Having a PhD in natural health Just a holistic approach, body, mind, and spirit. All three have to be healthy. My main focus is on the counseling end. When somebody comes to me that either has some trauma or disease, or they're a caretaker for somebody that has a disease, I work with their body to make sure that they're healthy, their mind and spirit, make sure they are spiritually sound. They're as healthy as they can be. That's what I do. My focus is on holistic counseling side of natural medicine.
That is so important for people to have those moments so they can share outward. It's having a ripple effect. One person is helped and they can help their kids who do better.
You're right, especially passing that on to your kids, because if you don't, if somebody hasn't said, you know what, you're okay, what you're thinking is okay, use your intuition, that's good. We all don't have to do what our parents taught us. It doesn't have to travel through, because although our parents are doing the best they can do, they learn from their parents. And sometimes we have some limiting beliefs that aren't necessarily healthy or accurate.
Exactly. I feel tuning into that intuition, letting it flow through us, letting what our thoughts come to us. We are given ideas for a reason.
Yes, I do understand.
Yeah. And talking about how you're helping people, how can people book a session with you?
The easiest way is go to my website, which is lesliebirkland.com. That's Lesliebirkland.com. And from that site, you can send me a message. You can send me anything. It doesn't have to be making an appointment. You can just ask me anything. You can ask me about life, and I will always respond.
Linking together that we can help create this massive ripple effect of healing, helping people navigate on their journey with the baby steps. Be open is that people need to have.
Yes, exactly. I love it.
Well, thank you for being here today. And I feel like we have so much more we can share with the world. So we'll have to just get back on here again.
Let's do it. I agree.
Yes.
Thanks, Wendy.
So thank you.